Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has been losing residents like crazy since he was elected back in 2018. The biggest question that I have is this all intentional? Is he intentionally pushing out Californians to take over other cities, other states within the United States? It's a question that I've always talked about. I'm sure so many are going to say, oh, conspiracy theorists and all this crap. Listen, we get to have our opinions no matter what. So if we're seeing something that's like, hey, this doesn't look right, it looks like this might be pre-planned, or there might be some type of strategy behind it. So I think that we should talk about it. We should have a conversation as to what it looks like. So we personally, in our line of business, have worked with so many Californians who have relocated out of California. And there's usually about three reasons why they are relocating outside of California. Number one being is obviously the crime, cost of living, and then also the politics or the authoritarianism that kind of happened in California during that COVID area, that 2020 area. And I'd say that in the early 2010s, because like I said, we came from Colorado. We experienced Californians coming into Colorado mainly because of that cost of living. But that changed dramatically pretty much after Newsom got in. So let's talk about that population a little bit, and I'll dive in a little bit deeper as to why I think that he might intentionally be putting California in a position where so many hundreds of thousands of people are leaving. So let's look at that population. So 2018, California had a population of 39.4 million people, where it went up slightly after he got elected. So 2020, it was at 39.5 million people. And then right after COVID, I'm sure with all the policies, the masking, the vaccine passports that everyone had to have, it started to dip down. We're now in 2024. They have a population of 38.9 million. All these population numbers are off of worldpopulationreview.com. That's where we go for all these stats with the population. And I feel like, if you look at the trend, I'll throw up a graphic right now. It shows how it is planned to go down all the way through to 2029. I believe that crime is probably one of the top reasons that so many people are relocating outside of California. And if you even saw that debate that happened between DeSantis and Newsom did something a little tricky here, as he says that violent crime was down 50-something% since the 90s. So why didn't he use his stats since being governor? Because those numbers show a different story. Let's check out that video right now.
How do you explain that when safety and security, I would argue, is a prerequisite for the pursuit of happiness?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. We're near 50-year lows, down 55% violent crimes in the state of California from the 1990s.
When Gavin Newsom took governorship in 2018, the violent crime was actually on a downward trend. And you do see, like COVID, everyone said, some of that violent crime did go up. And so if you see nationally, yes, it went up as well with California. But then the United States started to go down, where California kept on spiking. Is this all intentional to push people out? You have pretty much Newsom and all of his minions, when we're talking about these Soros-funded DAs who are passing all these laws, all these different things to try and keep crime pretty much where it's at and then keep on going up. There's actually an article that just came out yesterday by Wall Street Journal Opinion by Heather McDonald, where back in 2020, California passed the Criminal Justice Racial Act. In that act, essentially what it is every felon serving time in states' prisons and jails can now retroactively challenge its conviction and sentencing on ground of systemic bias. This is one of those things. What is going to happen from this? Are we going to start seeing pretty much the prisons and jails within California just releasing all these different prisoners into the system to spike that violent crime even more? Is this all an attempt to push Californians out? We all know that anywhere that Californians move, they pretty much take their politics with them, end up turning those cities, those states a little bit more blue than what they really were. So what are those top states that Californians have been moving to? All right, so I got a list right here. So number one, obviously, is Texas, and I believe that is Dallas is the top city that so many Californians are moving to. Arizona, number two, and Nevada, number three. What do all three of those states have in common? You have pretty much a conservative state, and then two, I say purplish states. But did they become purple because of the Californians that are moving into that state? I'm going to name off the top 10. So then you got Washington coming in at number 4. Florida coming in at number 5, Oregon at number 6, Colorado at number 7, New York at number 8, Idaho at number 9, and Tennessee at number 10. Here's what I'm seeing from personal experience working with so many Californians who have relocated out of California. I always like to ask them, hey, why did you decide to leave? What is this? And the majority of them are saying, like I said, that pretty much they want to be something that's safer and a little bit cheaper. Here's one thing that I am noticing though, is a lot of people that I've talked to, they're more of your center left, right? So they're not these like hardcore crazy lefties who are going out there all about communism, socialism. These guys are just like, middle of the road. It's like, I just want to be somewhere that's safe. I want to be somewhere that's a little bit cheaper. And so with that though, they are also bringing in their politics. So if Newsom's doing all these things to where crime goes up, prices go up, everything goes up, and it irritates those people enough, they go elsewhere. He knows that wherever he sends them, they are going to vote their politics into whatever city they choose to be in. Because, I mean, they look at certain things, and there's always those trigger words. So say, like, a new tax bill pops up, and like, this is for the children, or our roads, or they do all these things to make these middle-left Democrats sympathetic to what is going on. That's why you see taxes going up. They vote for the Democrats into the city council. Austin right now, they're going through a hard time with crime, where they're saying that they're set back 15 years because of what the city council did in Austin back in 2020. They essentially took $150 million away from the police in the name of racial justice. These are Democrats in the city council who are voting that in. And who else would put those Democrats into power outside of anyone who's voting for a Democrat? And so it's not, these aren't bad people, guys. The thing about it is they just look at it like, I'm not going to ever vote for a Republican in my life. Who knows? Maybe they will get in that pain point where like, all right, I'm sick of this. I'm done with all the rising gas prices, inflation, open borders. Maybe they will come to terms, but these aren't bad people. These are just people who are pretty much like your Kennedy Democrats, where they just always vote for Democrats. So I was like, I'm for the normal guy. They think that the Republicans are for the rich, so they do everything for the rich. It's all about how do we get that mental shift, that mind shift out of these people. And the biggest thing is just talking to them. If you ever talk with anyone, trying to go about something in a good way when someone disagrees with where you're at, is figuring out their pain points. And there's so many times where it's like, if you're talking with like, independents or like said center left Democrats, is they always talk about, oh, these gas prices, I'm sick of going to the grocery store and this and that. And just talking through them with that, it's like, that's where we got to educate ourselves, where it's like, all right, do you know why that inflation is there? Do you know why gas prices are up? Do you know why crime is popping up with all these illegal immigrants who are coming into the country? I'm not saying this is a formula to instantly get those center-left Democrats or to start voting for Trump or any of those things. I'm just saying that we need to start having conversations as Americans to really talk about this stuff, because I feel like the biggest reason for this division that we are having within our country, they don't want us talking to each other. They don't want us to sit there and have a discussion, because it might pop up some bubbles where it's like, oh, I never thought about it this way, that way. I personally love talking with Democrats just about what their beliefs are, what their views are. That way we could sit there and come to base and be like, all right, fine, you believe in that, I believe in this, and here is why. Just really talking about that critical thinking aspect really does help us come a little bit more together, a little bit more to understand why we are voting in the way that we are. I'm going to throw something else into there, where I think that a lot of these like center-left Democrats, the reason that they aren't relocating into a lot of these super blue states, so I know I listed a few of those, Washington, Oregon, New York, I think those are going to be pretty much your 20 to 30% hyper-left, socialist-style Democrats who are relocating there. But I think that more the center-left are moving more into a red and or purple state, and it's because they're like, you know what, they have kind of the same stuff going on that California does. I don't want to relocate there, and so that's why they are relocating into more of these conservative or even moderate style cities and states. Where does the illegal immigrant thing tie into this? So we always hear about how many illegal immigrants are flooding into the United States. And I think that these are the replacements for these blue states for the voters that they are losing. And so that amnesty is something that is on the Democrats' mind when we are talking about all the illegal immigrants that are coming into our country. And so like, you know what? Fine, we're losing to some of our voters, whether it be New York with Hochul and all the crap that she's doing up there as well too. Illinois, you've got all these super hyper blue states. It does seem like the Democrats who are losing all of these voters, this voter base out of the states, really don't give two craps at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing the stuff that they are doing up in New York with this huge indictment that they have on Trump and all that. I'm just saying that it doesn't make sense to me. I think that they are comfortable in the fact that if Biden does get in for another 4 years, that amnesty is on the way. And all those voters that they did lose by pushing them out, they're just going to be replaced with illegal immigrants. And on the bright side of things for them, now they have their center-left Democrats who are in these redder states, these more moderate states, to help them gain those for the Electoral College. Again, this is all just my personal opinion. I like to look at stuff and I really like to analyze and be like, I feel like there's something behind that. There's something going on. Guys, thank you so much for following along with me. I am going to continue posting videos, and until next time, stay free.